can discuss the nitty-gritties and give clarifications if there are any doubts about, implementation of the scheme. Yes, implementation is another key important feature. Announcements alone will not help. Implementation at the ground from the banks, from the branches, will be a key, in fact, to the success of the entire relief package. So that also becomes very important. So what I was talking is that it is not the schemes alone which are, schemes alone which have already been announced, we are going to talk about that. What is the way forward? If there are gaps, if there are problems, if there are difficulties in availing, or if there are some conditions which are difficult to comply with, ultimately the purpose and the objective of the government is to help the MSME sector and the industries who want to restart the operations, to revive the economy and to provide more employment and restore the employment. But if the relief doesn't reach the intended beneficiaries, so what is the way forward? What are the gaps which can be addressed? So we will also discuss, based on the feedback of our, eminent participants as well as experts on the panel, as to what are the way forward, what is the suggestions that we can give to the government, so that at a later stage we can compile these suggestions and talk to the government and send it to them. I can assure you that these recommendations, whenever they are found appropriate and useful, they are sent to the government for implementation. You can see the example with regard to the definition. The definition was announced, in fact, by the government some time back, but people expressed a lot of reservations about the upper limit for the medium sector. And I had also spoken, I think, in my last conversation with the participants, that the higher limit of turnover for medium sector, which was announced last time, should be restored, because you can't say 100 crore and above are all large. 100 crore is a modest turnover for a large company. Large company are supposed to have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 crore turnover. That is what we understand. It's only 7,000 companies which are listed on the stock exchanges. So we will discuss these issues. We will also take questions and try to answer them. Before we do that, in fact, let me invite my expert co-panelists. Let me first invite Mr. S.S. Acharya, who is the General Manager of SIDBI, very experienced professional banker, having more than 27 years of experience, and having worked almost I was reading his CV, almost every department of the banking and developmental banking particularly, also startups, incubation, microfinance, entrepreneurship development, credit risk management, cluster development, and very importantly, he has trained more than 5,000 bankers as well as other stakeholders in the banking industry. So over to you, Mr. Acharya. I think the issues that I have somehow or the other touched upon, you are the better person, in fact, to give more clarity, and also as to how SIDBI is particularly helping the MSMEs in this environment, and how is this definition particularly is going to have the impact over the MSMEs, positive or negative, whatever you feel. So over to you, Mr. Acharya.
Mr. Acharya, you need to unmute yourself, sir, first.
Yeah.
Kumar. Very good afternoon to all participants.
Good afternoon.
I am audible, sir?
Yes, please. Please carry on.
Okay. I am thankful for the very inspiring kind of introductory remarks that Dr. Saab just now gave. In fact, you have flagged so many issues. I do not know whether we have enough on our plates to. I think primarily we can discuss the current issues, like the package that has been announced for the immediate relief of the MSME sector and the economy in general.
Right.
And possibly then we can also touch upon the points that you very rightly observed, and that has been the issue of the MSME sector for quite some time, and various attempts are being made, but still, again, as you say, as per that, 50 lakh crore is the current outstanding, and possibly more than that is the gap. That means, we have a lot more to cover. And there are issues. It's not that, it's only the banks which are not giving. There are issues of formalization. There are issues of, MSMEs not getting ready to for the appropriate banking product, or there could be many other issues. So we'll discuss that at a later stage. But coming back to our immediate point of discussion of this 3 lakh crore package that has become now the buzzword amongst all of us. It is definitely one welcome step, as you rightly pointed out. It is basically an emergency credit line, and then name also suggests that. And SIDBI is the nodal agency through its guarantee trust NCGTC. We are providing the 100% guarantee. When this idea was first mooted by government, that this immediate ad hoc relief of 15-20% of the outstanding must be given by the banks by extending the security coverage, there were some amount of apprehensions amongst the banks, and rightly so, that at this point of time, without assessing if we just increase it by 20%, possibly the chances of default could be more. There was a demand from the banking system that possibly government can chip in with some amount of comfort that will support the banks, because the uncertainty is something that was playing in the minds of the banks, and the capital charge, because as you all know, the banking system is also starved of capital, that was also playing in their minds. So government very thoughtfully has come out with this guarantee scheme, that whatever is the outstanding as on 29th of February of this year, 20% of that will be given, and it is non-discretionary. I think some pointers were made that medium units will get and micro units will not get. It is not that. Across the spectrum, all MSME units which are fulfilling these conditions, number one, that the aggregate credit exposure should not be more than 25 crores, the turnover should not be more than 100 crores as on 29th of February, and it should not be in default for more than 60 days. That means it should not be SMA2 account in the bank's books. Then this credit line can be extended irrespective of the size of the unit, whether micro or medium. So as far as the banks are concerned, we understand all banks have issued this letters to the eligible customers who are fulfilling these three criteria. These three are the basic eligibility criteria, and these letters that have been given is in principle letter, and the existing securities will be extended, and it will be entirely covered by 100%. I think coming back to our initial discussion before the formal meeting started, I think there was a certain question on how exactly will be the guarantee settlement. I can tell you 75% of the guarantee amount in the event of default, 75% of the guaranteed amount will be paid by NCGTC within 30 days of an eligible claim. 20% will be paid on conclusion of recovery proceedings or till the decree gets time barred, whichever is earlier. So this is the that means entire 100% will be paid here. It is a little more simpler than what CGTMSE has. So absolutely the apprehensions in the minds of the banks has been removed by the current dispensation, by the current mechanism, and it is non-discretionary. It is not that but the limitation is it is for the MSME units which were having regular banking facilities with commercial banks as on 29th of February. So because they were having some kind of facility, and because government thought that immediate assistance is required so that they can kickstart their operations after the lockdown. They have so many pending expenses, whether it is the unpaid creditors, whether it is the salary, whether so many expenses are there. Possibly some amount of liquidity support to kickstart the operations is needed. Hence this intervention was made. And as Dr. Kumar was saying, roughly 15 to 16 lakh crore is the outstanding credit to the MSME sector, and 20% of that works out to 3 lakh crores. That's how this term 3 lakh crore has come. So this is the one of the biggest interventions of recent times, that an extraordinary intervention in these extraordinary times that the government has made. Of course, there are a series of other interventions. In fact, we will talk about it, that when we are talking about the losses of a variety of entrepreneurs, possibly we sometimes forget the smallest of the small. Say, for example, the street vendors. We forget the street vendors. They are the most vulnerable section, and in this times when even touching the product also is somewhat risky. The government has very rightfully thought that possibly the street vendors are the most affected. So a scheme is being rolled out very shortly. You will all listen from us maybe next time we discuss for the street vendors. Some scheme, about credit facility of 10,000 crore is being rolled out, and it will be mostly through the microfinance institutions and NBFCs, and the modalities are being worked out to reach out to the street vendors. So all sections of the economy, all sections of the MSME ecosystem are being touched upon, and the smallest of the small are of course served through the microfinance institutions. And again, another credit line has been opened for the microfinance institutions and NBFCs, and government is giving 100% guarantee to their debt papers that they are trying to raise from the market, so that they get cheaper funds and pass it on to their end customers. So a range of interventions is in place. I think as we further discuss, we can discuss the other aspects also. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Acharya-ji. Thank you. I think you have in very, very concise manner narrated everything about the 3 lakh credit 3 lakh crore worth of credit line, with all the important features of that. I like your statement that it is a non-discretionary. See, that itself is a very great help to the MSMEs. As long as it is a non-discretionary, you don't have to pick and choose कि हम इसको देंगे, इसको नहीं देंगे. As long as you fulfill the eligibility, everybody gets eligible and gets.
Absolutely.
That is very important. And second thing, what you mentioned is very simple, because the credit guarantee scheme has been made very simple. 75% within 30 days they will reimburse, and remaining 25% on conclusion of recovery proceedings. So there is no ifs and buts and problems with regard to availing the credit, and that will enthuse the bankers and the financing institutions to come forward as fast as possible, because the scheme guarantee, first of all, 100% guarantee. Second thing, getting the claim also has been made very, very simple. I also compliment you for giving some information, because I was getting that information earlier also from informal sources. We are yet to see that, but this scheme of street vendors, I'm told that 10,000 rupees per kind of a loan is being planned. So that will be of great help. It will be really of great help. In fact, the poorest of the poor who have suffered the most will also get liquidity support, and they will also be able to revive their operations and lives. So that also will be a great help if you can really be a instrument for expediting this.
Yeah, work is on in full speed. Very soon it should see the light of the day.
Very good. So we'll continue to discuss other issues. Let me invite Mr. Himanshu Sahai, who has been waiting very patiently, and he is the key member of our panel today, being the banker and very strong banker, the strongest bank in India, in fact, in the private sector. Rather, I would say, I think in the world, probably they have got some recognition that this is one of the very, very prominent. I think the highest capitalization or something I was looking at. I think Himanshu will be able to tell us better. So he is a chartered accountant by profession, by qualification, and a banker of more than 15 years experience, and has worked in all segments of the banking, large corporates, mid-market, and small and medium enterprises also, and currently heading the South India operations of SMEs of Kotak Mahindra Bank. So over to you, Mr. Himanshu Sahib. Let me ask you, first of all, what is the, like, frankly, if you can tell us, what is the approach of the private sector banks towards this MSMEs per se in general, for financing and in general terms, and more particularly with regard to the treatment under this 3 lakh worth of credit limit? Mr. Himanshu.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Kumar, for the detailed introduction. I'll take your first question, with respect to the approach of private sector banks with respect to extending credits to MSMEs in general.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about, let's take the COVID situation out of the discussion. So in general, I would say that all private sector banks have specific focus on MSMEs for two particular reasons. One is that, this is one sector wherein you can distribute loans to a larger set of audience, thereby distributing your risks as well. By risks, I mean that rather than concentrating large exposures on single borrowers, in this sector, the bank has an opportunity to diversify the risk and distribute the same amount that one were taking in a large corporate or in an MNC to a wide set of customers. So, because of this reason, that if you look at any commentary, any discussion of the managing director or CEOs of private sector banks, you would say that you would see a consistent approach of specific focus on MSMEs. So that is the general view of private sector banks on MSMEs. But I'll also tell you that being private sector banks and being that much more answerable to the shareholders, private sector banks are always known to be okay to approach established businesses rather than go and fund startups. Even if you talk about the schemes such as CGT MSC, which is a scheme which has been announced for all borrowers, you would see that private sector banks are lagging behind than public sector banks. I mean, PSU's contribution to CGT MSC is far better than private sector banks. So therefore, from a strategic concept, focus on MSMEs is there, but yes, not on the startup side. I mean, there has to be some demonstrated, ability to function and show results. That is what private sector banks would look at. Now, to come to your second question with respect to how private sector banks are taking, or how banks in general are taking this credit guarantee scheme, I would say that all banks are eyeing this as a huge business opportunity. Banks, we all know, are known to be conservative. More so, as individuals, in these situations, we have also cut down on all our discretionary spendings. If you look at internationally, one is seeing flight of capital to US, thereby weakening the domestic currencies. So it is also quite natural for banks who are constitutionally conservative to go slow on lending. Now, in such a scenario where there aren't too many opportunities to lend, neither the banks are wanting to take risks, I see this as a huge opportunity, which is backed by 100% guarantee from the trust, which is a sovereign trust. So it's a huge opportunity for all banks, be it public sector or private sector banks. In fact, I would also want to throw one more data point to all participants. I think this is probably the highest liquidity that banks are sitting on at this point in time. Pre-COVID, reverse repo is the function wherein banks park their excess liquidity with RBI. Pre-COVID, banks were parking somewhere around 3 lakh, 3.5 lakh crore rupees on a daily basis with RBI. That was the excess liquidity. I'm talking about Feb and March. As we speak, this amount has almost trebled to 9.5 lakh crores. This actually speaks about the quantum of liquidity that the entire banking system is sitting on as we speak. And because of the risk-averse nature that the banks have adopted in this scenario, there aren't too many opportunities. So this 3 lakh crores is a blessing in disguise for all banks. Now, with respect to the practical aspect of deployment, I would be quite honest in sharing that at least from the private sector bank side, the first draft of the guideline that came in was not something that we were keenly looking forward to. So basis various representations which went in to the government and to the ministries, the revised guidelines that we got 2 days back have taken care of all those inhibitions and issues that we as private sector banks were facing. And now I think private sector banks would be as eager to go out and implement it as some of the larger public sector banks which have already started rolling out. In fact, you would have read that SBI has been rolling out 10,000 crore worth of incremental advances under the scheme every day. So going forward from Monday onwards, I am hoping that we would hear similar news from the private sector front as well. Now, Dr. Kumar, one thing which I wanted to clarify to everyone, in fact, Mr. Acharya also covered briefly in his discussion, is the fact that while the definition of MSMEs has been expanded to 250 crore turnover, but the emergency line of credit is available to only corporates with turnover up to 100 crores. So therefore, Dr. Kumar, what you were talking about, some associations having this issues with respect to the benefit going to the medium set of the MSME should be dispelled, because the guideline clearly says that all businesses stroke MSMEs up to turnover up to 100 crores are covered, and there is no mention of investment. So earlier, investment and turnover was the criteria, but now investment is not to be reckoned. It is only turnover up to 100 crores. In fact, it also talks about, for financial year 20, the businesses could give their own self-declaration with respect to turnover. One need not produce an audited financial result showing a turnover less than 100 crores to take benefit under the scheme. So therefore, from an opportunity perspective, I think it's a blessing in disguise. All banks are here to do business. Nobody wants to sit and park funds at 3.35% with rate of interest with the Reserve Bank of India and pay 5% on fixed deposits. So this is a good scheme which is there. In fact, on the rate of interest, the guideline also says that the maximum rate that the bank can charge is capped at 9.25% or external benchmark plus 1%, whichever is lower. So from a pricing point of view, also it is much better than parking excess liquidity with RBI at 3.35%.
Yeah. No, I think very clear, very sound advice. You have been very frank, in fact, in talking about the private sector's approach to the MSME sector. I agree with you. I have been part of the banking, sector, financing sector, I would say. They are not very, initially they were not very enthused with the credit guarantee CGTMSE. And over a period of time, they have built the confidence, and I think more and more bankers are also coming forward. Startups, of course, they need to, show their credibility and credit worthiness. I can understand the limitations of, having banking arrangements with the startups. But then startups are the future unicorns, as we know. And startups need handholding in the beginning, in the initial stages. So there has to be some specific scheme of, lending to the startups. Because as of now, startups are struggling. Startups have no no specific window of seeking assistance in the form of loans, and they keep struggling with the small angel network and other companies. So one thing I wanted to ask before I take that question to you, I'll invite Mr. Acharya because he has been dealing with these microfinance institutions and a lot of non-banking finance companies. Acharya ji, are you with me? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I am able to hear,
So
sir.
what I was asking is that there is a huge network of non-banking finance companies and microfinance institutions, and they are in fact at the grassroots of MSME clusters, micro-based enterprises, self-help groups, and non-banking finance companies also are dealing with a host of MSMEs in the entire country. And recently, the Reserve Bank of India also changed their policy and said that any finance granted to micro and small enterprises, MSMEs, through NBFCs will also be classified under the priority sector up to a limit of ₹20 lakhs per borrower. With that kind of reach by the NBFCs and the amount being classified under the priority sector, why all out assistance is not provided by the banks and SIDBI or other private sector nationalized banks also, and taken these NBFCs as their intermediary partners? So this can be a very good channel to expand the credit line. As Mr. Himalathi mentioned, there is a lot of liquidity available in the system, and they have the reach, in fact, to the MSMEs. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I fully agree with you. See, as regards banks are concerned, they have their limitations. In fact, for the first time, I must compliment Himanshuji that he is very, very candid. That at the greenfield level, private banks do not come forward to fund, and after they are seasoned out with public sector banks, then only they are in a position to either fund it, extend them extra fund and take it over. So this is how things are running. Only it is left to the public sector banks to fund the greenfield units amongst the MSMEs. But India being India, and the number of the total MSME spectrum being more than 6 crores, so 60 million MSMEs. Obviously, there is limitation, and we need a multitude of approaches. And very correct. The people at the bottom of the pyramid, are addressed by the microfinance institutions, and just above in the first stage of the pyramid is now being addressed by the NBFCs. See, NBFCs, what happens is earlier they were, typically extending loans for machinery finance, typically. But after the this people came to the scene, the fintech NBFCs, they came to the scene. They are in fact in a better position to actually extend credit to the small businesses by analyzing the digital footprints of them in the system. So these fintechs are specialized in that, and in fact we have to leverage the strength of technology to reach these people, because we cannot reach them through the brick and mortar system. So this is precisely what the fintech NBFCs are doing. But only thing is that fintech NBFCs have their own limitation in terms of capital. So they are not in a position to expand their books because they are constrained by their capital. And because they have a low capital, there is a limitations up to how much they can raise as debt capital from the banking system. So possibly that is the reason why Government of India has come out with also this kind of a policy measure that they will be giving 100% guarantee when the NBFCs raise money from the market. So that is the thought process precisely that has gone, that NBFCs also have to supplement, more particularly fintech NBFCs, so that we reach to the bottom of the pyramid, and then just above that through the fintech NBFCs. So the idea that you have floated is absolutely the need of the hour, and I think government and the institutions are perfectly working towards that. I think in the days to come, this technology is going to be leveraged and we are going to reach the bottom of the pyramid. Of course, some amount of formalization efforts whether through the GST mechanism, etc., which is happening. With everything happening together, I think it is just a matter of time before the formalization also happens, the technology also deepens, and our outreach also is expanded. So it is, we all are working towards that. I think it is just a matter of time.
Yeah, I think good clarification. Let me invite Mr. Himanshu Sahaya, in fact, to have one more information about this NBFCs. What is the, what is the environment as of today with regard to bankers' approach or bankers' interest in NBFCs or lending to NBFCs? Lending to NBFCs means NBFCs are of course further going to lend for any other purposes, maybe micro, small, or any other, even housing loans or other. Because last 2 years probably have not been very good for the NBFCs after the collapse of some institutions. I would not name them, you are all aware. But over a period of time, I understand the atmosphere has improved, and government and Reserve Bank of India gave a lot of importance, in fact, to NBFCs going ahead for further on lending to the various sectors, and also provided windows of refinance. And I understand there was a targeted long-term, repo operations window granted to SIDBI by Reserve Bank of India. I think it was done in March or early April. So the purpose is basically to give a boost to the on lending by NBFCs. So what is the approach? Whether it has changed, the bankers' approach towards lending to NBFCs has gone some change, or it continues to be the same conservative because of the failure or default of some institutions 2 years back? Himanshu.
Yeah, so Dr. Kumar, I'll answer this question. So prior to the failure of that NBFC, which triggered the NBFC crisis, and just adding on to what Mr. Charya also mentioned about fintech companies, I would say that all banks had started to experiment with lending to these fintech companies for onward lending, because of the fact that the business model and the approach of the fintech companies was drastically different from the traditional and the historical approach followed by lending institutions. Because the credit assessment was done based on artificial intelligence, based on digital footprints, digital availability of data in the digital form, based on social information available in social platforms, which is not non-quantified data. So these fintech companies have been lending based on metrics which have never been part of any credit assessment. So I would say that prior to the NBFC crisis, which started about a year back, all banks had live lines to these fintech companies, and these fintech companies follow a co-lending model, wherein for every rupee of advance by the fintech company, 70% of the risk was taken care of by the fintech and 30% was taken care by the bank, by the lending institution, or the ratio could be 50-50, 60-40, depending on the comfort of the lending institution to the fintech company. So I would say that was the approach prior to the crisis. After the NBFC crisis, as we all know, liquidity availability to the NBFC as a sector dried up because everybody ran away and wanted to run out of this sector. Now, historically, NBFCs always had this asset liability mismatch. The liabilities, the tenor of the liabilities were not matching the tenor of the assets at all. And there was a huge variance. When the crisis came out, this diversion, this ALM mismatch was even more pronounced. So therefore, the market participants, lending institutions, ran away. Even mutual funds, for that matter, pulled out a lot of money from NBFCs because of rating downgrades and for various factors. Now, after the long-term repo operation, which was done in the month of March, I think towards the end of
Yes.
March, and the 75,000 crore, two schemes aggregating to 75,000 crores announced
Yeah.
recently for NBFCs. My own sense is that we will start warming up to the sector once again. Now, this 100% guarantee scheme is quite similar to what we have been talking about for MSMEs. So if it is not, if banks are not going to be as enthused as we are for MSMEs, I do see that there would be a change in stance with respect to NBFCs going forward. Now the 35,000 crore scheme, that is now applicable only for public sector banks to subscribe to the debentures of these NBFCs, and there is only a limited guarantee of 20% which has been extended. So, public sector banks and private banks, there are different ways, but yeah, I do see a change in stance if you are talking about specifically NBFCs. In fact, one of the questions posed to me before coming on this call was, what do I feel with respect to the assistance to the unbanked sector, because a lot of our NBFCs, a lot of our MSMEs or small businesses may not have access to bank credit as of 29th of February. So obviously, this set of unbanked MSMEs are completely out of the dispensations and benefits provided under the scheme. So my personal take is that this is one space which was filled in by the NBFCs, by fintechs, by NBFCs, like equipment finance companies that Mr. Acharya spoke about. So therefore, as you rightly said, Dr. Kumar, NBFCs is an extremely important sector which can definitely help some of the unbanked MSMEs get access to credit.
Yes. Yes, surely. I think very clear views and very clear, candid, statements, which are absolutely reflective of what is the current scenario as far as the relationship of banks with the NBFC is concerned. I would again invite Mr. Acharya, in fact, into the discussion on this particular issue of funding NBFCs. SIDBI has been quite, intensely involved in financing NBFCs and microfinance institutions, but this Mudra also is probably their brainchild earlier, which was converted into Mudra, of course, later. But microfinancing is their domain, in fact, which they have been doing. One aspect which I thought, let me discuss with Mr. Acharya, he is the future leader of, banking sector. General commercial borrowings could be one of the easiest way of getting a lot of foreign fundings and much lower rates for the NBFCs. And I understand that SIDBI has been given that kind of a leeway and probably provision in the government provision that SIDBI would do that. For the MSME. Can you, Mr. Acharya, explain as to what is happening in that, whether some ECBs are coming or they are in pipeline or some plan, or there are some problems? Because what I understand is that MSMEs directly are not getting that kind of a funding from foreign sources, but whereas people keep talking, फॉरेन से तो 2% पे 3% पे मिल जाता है, 4% पे मिल जाता है. इंडिया में it is always 10%, 12%, 13%. So can you also highlight about the actual cost which really people have to bear in India because of the foreign funding? It's not 3, 4, 5% which appears the exchange variation.
I will approach this question a little differently. We'll come to this in the latter part when I answer this question. But I will tell you some very important, thing which we have gathered from our experience in developing the microfinance market in this country. You see, when we talk about MSMEs, most of the time we talk about MSMEs which are funded by the banks, which are basically employing blue collar people, which are the people who are sitting in the association discussing with the government, doing policy advocacy before the government. But if you actually see the MSME population, possibly 90% of them are extremely small, and many of them possibly are operating out of their own houses, and possibly some of them are engaged in livelihood functions, and still out of this extremely small micro units, they are doing something just for their survival. So we did a study, and at that point of time we found, while there was this your bank SSG linkage program that was initially initiated by NABARD in the year 1990. That was mostly a supply side intervention. So we thought, there are institutions like banks and regional rural banks which are catering to them, but possibly there are no institutions which are catering to the needs of this kind of people. So we thought there should be a supply of this kind of institution, and we intervened, and with a lot of policy support, with a lot of handholding support, we replicated the Bangladesh Gramin Bank model in India, and we created rather microfinance institutions which became very big, and in fact some of them have become universal banks like the Bandhan Bank, or many of them have become small finance banks. So the institutions were created as a supply side intervention, so that they cater to the smallest of the small in the society. Even the MSMEs which are new are not touched by many banks, and so this kind of people cannot be actually reached unless we have specialized institutions which can go and talk to their clientele on a daily basis, understand their needs, and then serve them. When you talk about interest rates, sir, we all are, I think, possibly within 1% of the India's population, and most of us have a credit card. If we have seen the fine lines of the credit card, even for people like us, if you spend the credit card, the minimum charge is 36%. 3% per month credit card companies charges, and I think we do not have any problem, because it is the convenience for which we are paying. So cost is never actually the consideration for people who are in need of money. Actually is the convenience. The quality of the credit is more important. You should get it in right time, at right place, and possibly at a reasonably good price. So we can have a separate session on that. But coming back to the price, we have seen that people's lives have really been improved. We have been touched by so many stories in the ground, that even at a rate of around annual rate, people were paying at more than 200% from the village sahukars, etc. Even the microfinance institutions will charge 18% or so. It is very reasonably good enough, because see, we also are paying convenience fee of 36% to the credit card companies. But coming back to the interest rate of MSMEs, which are in a position to raise credit at 9%, 10%, and we are expecting it to further go down. Yes, there is always this route, but to be very honest, currently nothing is on the plate. In fact, this is still on discussion stage. Even if we borrow, we aggregate the demand and borrow, then some amount of guarantee will be required. So even if you borrow at 2% or so, see, we of course the FCTL assistance, etc., are there, which we give at possibly 4%, 5%. It is all based on LIBOR and all. But if we borrow by aggregating demand and then pass it on to the MSMEs, there will be other associated costs. I don't think cost will be very, very competitive as to 3%, 4%. So that is something we have to think about. But in the current times, I think what is most needed is the liquidity, and liquidity is being made available through this channels at around 8% to 9%. Government has fixed the upper cap of 9.25%. So, in my personal opinion, when I am traveling the road and I am thirsty, I will not ask for the cost of a water bottle, whether it is 10 rupees or 12 rupees. Now I think survival is very important, and going forward, yes, these are the options definitely available, but definitely not currently on the plate.
No, I think very, very nicely put, Mr. Acharya. I will not ask the cost of the water bottle if I am so thirsty. I fully agree with you. And there are people that who talk about this difference in the cost of borrowings in India and foreign countries, probably do not take into account the cost of exchange variation also, because that itself adds up, in fact, to the foreign funding cost and takes it to almost similar level as India is almost there. I hope Himanshu agrees with me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because
100% agree.
because 5-6%, if you take 4 to 5% exchange variation cost, I think 5% should be the average. So it takes it to 8-9%, and 8-9% in any case availability is there in India also. So that is the clarity. I thought, let me make it through my experts, in fact, sitting. So today I will ask Ms. Sudha Sareen. In fact, she is the senior vice president of Power to SME. You are all aware that this program has been organized jointly by Power to SME and Vadhwani Foundation. And if Ms. Sudha Sareen is there, I will request her to say a few words about Power to SME. Sudhaji, are you there? Zumair?
Sir, I think Sudha ma'am.
Yeah, I'm here.
Please come in,
That was
Sudhaji. If you can
Thank
say a few words here.
Thank you, Kumar. Sab wasn't necessary. आप भूल चुके थे, but thank you all the same. We've had a wonderful discussion. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all our speakers to take out time, especially on a Saturday, to what has been a tremendously meaningful discussion. I also thank my team and the team of the Vadhwani Foundation that has come together with us to do a series of these webinars, which we presume will be useful to the SME system and ecosystem. Our feedback has actually been rather positive, and we're encouraging everybody to give us suggestions, recommendations. There is a form that I think my team has shared on the chat box. Please feel free to fill it and also connect with us in case we can help you in any of your requirements. Thank you so much.
Great. I think Power to SME is a national level body which has been set up by professional entrepreneurs, and is very professionally managed company with all India presence, and is engaged in providing all kinds of inputs, raw materials, financing support to the MSMEs in the country. And the objective is basically to provide very competitive inputs, saving almost 10 to 15% the cost of intermediaries through which is added by the wholesalers and retailers. The company, in fact, provides these inputs directly from the manufacturers and at the doorsteps of the MSMEs. So that is the Power to SME. And Vadhwani Foundation, of course, is an international charitable organization engaged in entrepreneurship development, as well as providing a lot of helping hand to the MSMEs across the country and also startups. So that is another organization which is providing a lot of help to the development and promotion of MSMEs. So I think the time is now to take the questions, involve the participants. They have been patiently waiting. Although we have tried to clarify a lot of things, in fact, with regard to the relief package and particularly the availment of 3 lakhs, 3 lakh crore of additional funding support, but they may be having still some operational issues and questions. So we will take these questions now. So Damini, if you can read the questions one by one, we have enough time. We can read as many.
Yes, sir. Our first question is from Mr. Karan. why are banks asking for collateral for the emergency loan? He has just received a sanction letter, and they have mentioned to include the collateral for the loan. And the justification they give is that the terms have been changed by the government.
I'm a bit surprised, Acharya ji. Can you, or any of you, maybe? Is it possible that?
No, I think there is a confusion here. There is no additional collateral security. Whatever security is already there, that will be extended.
Yes, that is
No
what.
additional collateral security.
So he doesn't have to give any additional collateral security. The existing collateral security, what is existing for the credit facilities which he was enjoying, because he must be enjoying some credit facility on 29th February. That is how he has been offered the additional credit line. So the existing credit collateral security will continue to be additional line also. So that.
Yes, sir. So the next one is by Mr. Rajiv. He says these schemes are only for those who are availing facilities. What about those MSMEs who don't have, who have not availed any facility but need funds as of now?
So it's correct. It's correct that the current announcement that has come is to address the needs of the MSME units which are dealing with the banking system. As regards the fresh credit facility, the other options, all other options are open, including the guarantee coverage under CGTMSE. They can approach for the fresh facility. But this facility is actually an ad hoc emergency assistance for people who are already having banking facility.
Yes. Sorry. So Damini?
Yes, sir. So Mr. Surinder is saying, does SIDBI still require borrower's bank counter guarantee in any shape? What are the advantages of SIDBI vis-a-vis commercial banks?
No, it is the trust. A trust has been set up separately for this, NCGTC. They offer the guarantee for this additional 20% facility. No counter guarantee of any of the bank is required. Only the bank needs to extend the existing security to cover this additional 20% also.
So
And let me add, no guarantee fees to be paid, unlike a CGTMSE.
Yeah.
No guarantee fee is to be paid, and moratorium of 1 year on principal is also there.
Yes.
Yeah. No guarantee fee, no processing fees, nothing.
That would mean that the collateral free has no meaning.
No collateral is asked for. Who is asking for collateral?
Then the existing collateral will be charged for this additional loan also.
Yes.
Existing collateral is already there with the bank.
So this additional loan is also collateral covered by the same borrower.
No. Collateral is given when you are given a loan. Supposing you forget about this. Supposing you want 20% extra loan in normal times. You'll be asked for additional collateral. Say security, whatever you had given, is your current loan is already covering that. So for giving this 20% additional loan, in normal times you would have been asked for additional collateral security. Isn't it? In normal times, in normal case, I'm not generalizing, I'm just generalizing. I'm not talking about any particular case. When you ask for any additional credit facility, usually a additional collateral security is asked for. So in this case, coming back to this case, you are given 20% additional facility, but no additional collateral is asked for. Whatever collateral you have, only that is being extended.
Yes. So Damini?
So Mr. Siddharth is saying, as stated by Mr. Kumar, SMEs that don't have an existing facility, the limits being given cannot be availed. So how is that issue to be addressed? As all banks want equal amount of collateral, even though you have orders, etc. This issue needs to be addressed.
Yes.
No, I didn't get the question. Himanshu, if you have understood, can you answer this?
Yeah, Himanshu?
Yeah. So it is a fact that the existing scheme does not cover people who have not borrowed, the enterprises which have not borrowed as of 29th February. So for them, Mr. Acharya, like what Mr. Acharya mentioned, the existing CGT MSE scheme is something that they can avail of. Secondly, I must take this liberty of mentioning in this forum that these are not the last of the measures coming in from the government. In fact, if you read carefully the finance minister's speeches and the written material which is coming out in a formal manner, you would see that there is room for more such measures. And I am confident that for the set of enterprises which are not yet covered, there could be additional measures in the form of reliefs on GST, or in the form of further TDS, TCS exemptions that may come in from the government side, or it could be taxation benefits, or depreciation benefits from an income tax perspective. I don't know. I mean, but yeah, these are not the last of the measures which are coming in from the government.
Yeah, like we heard that for street vendors there is another scheme in offering, and for other sectors also, for startups and for those enterprises which are unbanked, there will be something in fact coming one way or the other. You know?
Yes, sir. Mr. Ramesh Gupta is asking, the government has divided the MSMEs into 4 categories: micro, small, medium, and large scale. What is the basic difference in all of them with respect to their financing?
You will answer, Himanshu?
So there is no difference with respect to financing. So financing wise, there is no difference, sir. Mr. Gupta, if I have to answer you, this 20% scheme is applicable irrespective whether one is a micro or a medium enterprise. You may elaborate if I have not understood your question correctly.
You are right, there is no difference in financing. The borrowers are treated on the basis of their credit worthiness and their ratings, if they have if the ratings are required, and of course that comes out of the financial condition, financial position, background checks, and of course security is what they have given. So all these factors are considered, and that is how unit to unit the decisions are taken. I don't think per se there is any generalized policy of differentiating between micro to small and small to medium.
Yes, sir. So Mr. Ram is asking, he approached SIDBI for new project funding as startup, but the response was that there is shortage of staff engaged in servicing the existing customers. So how does he go ahead over there?
Acharya is the person.
See, let me tell you two things. First, SIDBI is a financial institution and SIDBI is not a bank. So many times, I think people approach us for working capital facilities, and SIDBI does not offer working capital facility on a standalone basis. It is the job of the commercial bank. SIDBI is a financial institution. So that could be one of the reasons. I do not know the case specific details. But what happens is in many, because now everybody is having some kind of issues with their working capital, and mostly people are facing shortages in their working capital thing. So they are approaching SIDBI for working capital facilities, which unfortunately, being a financial institution, we cannot give. We operate various schemes of government, and we also are a term lending institution. We primarily, extend loans for setting up factories in land, building, machine, etc. So if that is the requirement, surely, he is welcome. But if the requirement is working capital only, I'll suggest he should go to any commercial bank, and possibly, if the collateral security is an issue, he can always resort to SIDBI's credit guarantee scheme with the bank.
Yes, Sudhamini.
Yes, sir. So Mr. M.V. Ravi is asking, is SMA reporting a criteria for 20% funding?
Yes, it should not be SMA2. That means, the defaults are classified as SMA0, SMA1, and SMA2. If, the payment is received within 30 days, it is SMA0. If it is received within 31 days to 60 days, it is SMA1. And from 61st day till 90th day, it is SMA2. That means a borrower should not have been on default for more than 60 days as on 29th of February 2020. So if it is SMA2, it is not eligible as per the eligibility criteria that has been set by the government. But if it is SMA1 or SMA0, it is eligible.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And so the last question for today from Mr. Siddharth is, what is SIDBI interest rate? Also, how much collateral does SIDBI require for the loan?
See, as I told you, SIDBI is a term lending institution, and it is not a regular bank for sanctioning working capital facilities. Having said that, if I'm assuming that the questioner is asking about the term loan facility for setting up a new facility or acquiring any new machine, which is in the nature of a capital investment and requiring a term loan, then let me tell you, interest rates are decided on so many factors, and the rating, internal rating is very, very important for. So if better is the rating, see, ultimately you must understand rating is nothing but a risk perception, and everything is a risk return kind of a game. So if by way of rating we find that it is extremely good rated, meaning thereby my risk is less, so the risk premium that will be levied will be less as well. That means the interest rate will be less. So it will be depending on the rating, overall rating that the customer obtains during the internal rating process. So it is very difficult to tell what will be the interest rate, but yes, definitely it is very, very competitive, and you will find the experience of dealing with SIDBI also different.
Yeah, very, nicely answered. So, Dabni, if you have any more questions, or should we close?
So those are all. Thank you.
So, thank you very much. I think we had a wonderful discussion today on the relief package, and particularly the 3 lakh crore, the liquidity window which has been established by the Government of India for the benefit of the MSME sector. There are other schemes also which the government announced, which we did not discuss today, but there are also important schemes like fund of funds and another window for the stressed MSMEs.
Subordinated debt.
20,000 crore, which is subordinated debt. That is another very important impact liquidity window for which will benefit a lot of, I think, 2 lakhs MSMEs which are stressed. So that is another positive sign which the government has shown. We have noted down, in fact, some of the concerns which have emerged out of today's discussion, and those concerns are basically related to the MSMEs which are unbanked or which did not have the banking facilities or credit facilities already sanctioned, and they did not have any outstanding as on 29th February. So they are the one sector which also look for some kind of liquidity support one way or the other, whether it is a support by way of loan or any other financial assistance. That is one area, and startup, of course, startups are also very eager to jumpstart their restart their operations, because they also have gone very subdued in fact over the last 12 months. Instead, their cash, and they will also like future employment creators for our country, and they also look forward to some kind of assistance under any of the schemes which the government may come forward. Mr. Acharya in the government space and Himanshu in the private sector, both are at a very senior position, and they will be close to their respective management, and will be able to influence the managements to bring out some or the other acceptable, which is bankable proposition for these sectors also, at the same time saving and protecting the interests of the banks. Of course, you can't compromise on the banks' interests also. They are also, in fact, public entities, in fact, responsible for saving of the public money. And similarly, new enterprises, startup, and these women-owned enterprises. There are so many schemes, but then sometimes the implementation and the knowledge about these schemes is also not known. So you should be, I would exhort all the MSMEs, you should read all the schemes first of all. There are so many schemes like Stand Up India scheme. I was checking with various banks. The banks are yet to complete their targets. And Stand Up India scheme is a good scheme for the women-owned enterprises. They can avail credit limit up to 1 crore. And SIDBI is, I think, one of the key players in Stand Up India also. So that is another scheme which people can avail. So we'll keep talking about these specific issues in our future, discussions and programs. So I would like to thank Mr. Acharya, our distinguished panelist, Mr. Acharya, as well as Mr. Himanshu Sahai and the Kotak Mahindra Bank for their valuable inputs. In fact, very, very, very knowledgeable, very, very, practical and very candid. So thank you both of you for joining this webinar. Thank you, Vardhman Foundation, for joining with Power to SME. for this wonderful initiative. And let me also thank Ms. Sudha Sareen, the Senior Vice President of Power to SME, who is the key person behind organizing these events. And also my colleagues Zumair and Sodamini, who are the backroom workers and put all these things together to have proper discussion and then take it forward. So thank you all. Thank you very much. We close the session here and hand over to Mr. Zumair.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Himanshu, for joining us today. All the participants, you are so kind of you for joining us and listening to the deliberations. And I request all the participants once again to kindly subscribe to our newsletter, SME Khabar, for all the relevant news at one spot. Also submit your feedback and any specific query that you would like us to pursue post webinar with the speakers and the relevant authorities. So thank you all.
Thank you, Acharya ji. Thank you, Himanshu.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.